you get 3-bet. Here, 130 big blinds deep. We know that his 3-betting range is pretty strong. He's 3-betting like he's playing pretty straightforward. So he's 3-betting tens and up, ace king, ace queen, king queen most likely, and sometimes he's throwing some weird hands in the mix because nowadays even nits understand the concept of deception and stuff like that. But most of the time, it's just gonna be playing pretty straightforward, and he's gonna have strong hand pre-flop, and he's gonna play post-flop according to the strength of his hand, and that is gonna be very easy for you guys to make plays or stuff like that post-flop. So we end up taking the flop, of course, because like I said, pocket egg is cool. And EC bets into us 64 into 104 on the flop Jack 9-5 with a flush draw, which is obviously a pretty wet board and an interesting board as well. First of all, here we know that that kind of guy is the type of guy who we already have it read on him, let's say, and he's the type of guy like a lot of, like I said, multi-tabling nits, who's gonna take like one stab when they're the original re-raiser. They tend to take a stab at the pot, and like no matter what they have, no matter what the board is, they just continuation bet when they are the 3-better, because a lot of these guys do that. They just play it like that, and on later street, you don't expect him to be multi-barreling a lot, or multi-barrel. Do I have to say multi-barreling, anyways, whatever. Multi-barreling a lot. So you know that his first barrel here on the flop doesn't mean much about his hand. He pretty much has the same range as pre-flop. I think the only kind of hand we can rule out here is like a weak made hand, but he's not having that a lot pre-flop. Something like 9-8 or 9-10 or stuff like that is most likely to check the flop, but he's not gonna have that a lot from his pre-flop action anyways. So yeah, when he see bets, like I said, he still has overpairs and overcards, and that's pretty much it. He has from tens and up, maybe nines too, maybe like a couple of sets there that he could have hit, and he's gonna have like ace king, ace queen, and king queen big percentage of time, because that's a big part of his range, and we know like not 100% of the time, but like maybe 80-90% of the time he's gonna take a stab at the flop. One other very important thing here is the board texture. Like I said, it's pretty wet, and it's gonna give us a lot of options against a predictable guy. That plays in our favor actually, that a lot of cards on the turn and river are gonna be scare cards, and against the type of guy who we do not expect to be bluffing or like multi-barreling draws, or we just do not expect to have him to have that many draws in his range right now. Like I said, scare cards are gonna play in our favor, because we could take him off a pretty strong hand a lot of time when, let's say, a flush card hits, or a 10 or 8, or well, not an 8 because we have set, or a 7, or even maybe queen hit, some straight card hit. Like I said, it's gonna play in our favor because we will have the opportunity to make him fold better hand. So post flop, after the flop, he is most likely to just tell us what his hand is on the turn. If he checks the turn, he's most likely to have nothing. We know that on such a wet board, he's gonna bet for protection, all his overpairs on the turn, like second barreling, close 100% of the time. He's not gonna play that too tricky. And like I said, he's not the type of guy who's gonna be pushing like a weak draw, something like king queen too far. Like he's not gonna 2 and 3 barrel that. And if he bets again, but that turn is a pretty big scare card, we could bluff him out of an overpair sometimes as well. So I think that's a pretty good spot given the board and given the opponent to call the flop. So we call the flop, obviously, and the turn is an offsuit 4, which is a total brick. Here on such a brick, if he bets again, we can just fold because we know he doesn't have that many draws in his range, and he's not likely to second barrel total air like ace king. So when he bets again, it's just fold. He's gonna have an overpair way too often. But when he checks, he's most likely to be very weak. We are most likely to have the best hand here. There could be an argument for betting, saying like you have to protect your hand, yada yada. But I think sometimes he's gonna go with for a like check raise on the turn, maybe with something like tens who's putting us on a draw, or something like draw himself, and we're not really happy about bet calling that turn. So I think checking it back and trying to go to showdown is by far our best option here. So we check it back. River is 7, which is like almost the ultimate scare card, but once again, there could be some arguments for betting, seeing that we make him fold like 95% of his range. But I think we're good way too often here. And if he does happen to have a hand like tens or something like that, or jack 10 sometimes, he could be likely to be like hero calling us here, thinking that we could have like miss king queen on the flop or queen 10 or something like that. But I just think we're good often enough here, and he could have a flush sometimes as well. He's the type of guy who's gonna like check flush draw on the turn, hoping to either get a free card or check raise us all in, more than like turn like putting himself into barreling mode. He's gonna check the turn a lot more often with a flush draw. Could have a flush on the river, and anyway, we just check it down. And he has ace king miss because I made up the end, and we win. Wee!